We have Sam Biardo joining us from Chicago at Technology Advisors, and Sebastian Forget from Solution Metrics. And we also have Alan join. Alan, how many sessions is this for you at this point in our low-code marathon?
Oh, I've not done anything like the number you have, Eric, but this one's my fourth.
Okay, all right. I was going to say we've had several conversations at this point, so wonderful. And our topic today is again surrounding digital transformation and its effect on the industries and also the future. If we think back. There's been a lot of changes in the way we've had to adapt to customer behavior, different conditions. But I think like at this point, our recent situation that we went through really was challenging. I think in a sense different from other outside factors that we've had. We had to adapt very, very rapidly during the pandemic, right? It forced a lot of organizations to take a hard look at many different broken processes, many different technologies that weren't agile enough to adapt to the changes that we were all forced to go through. So digital transformation strategies, typically we're on a roadmap, right? Maybe 3 to 5 years, but pandemic hit and those roadmaps shortened to almost like it had to be immediate just to stay afloat. So, in today's discussion, we'll be, looking at the impact on different industries and where we see that going in the future. But, what I think is important, because digital transformation is a broad statement. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And what I would like to start with is, maybe if we go around the table here and we give, in 1 or 2 sentences, how do you define digital transformation? And I think of no one better to start with than Sam Biardo. Sam has a lot of experience with digital transformation. How would you define that for the audience in 1 or 2 sentences?
I think it's rethinking all your processes from a digital perspective and eliminating any waste in your organization.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I like that. Sebastian, how about you?
Yeah, I see digital transformation from the customer point of view. So it's the way you want to transform your business to be more customer centric. Mm-hmm. And engaging with them in more digital way. So you always have your traditional sales channel, but how you can provide them the digital experience. So I see it from, there's an internal, like Sam mentioned, where your internal process, but you also have customer facing. So that's definitely one of the motivators of our prospect and customer to go digital transformation is to better serve their customer, more efficient, more rapidly, more digital, anytime, anywhere, omni-channel experience, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Alan, what's your definition of digital transformation?
Well, I agree with all the comments that Sam and Sebastian have made. But for me, digital transformation is also to look at every manual process you've got. If there are things that aren't already digital in their nature, really examine them, look at the manual procedures and try to turn them into digital ones if you can. It will improve efficiency within the organization. It'll improve the ability to share information because now it's no longer part of the manual recording process. It's shared through your digital medium. So manual to digital. That's my definition.
Yeah, and I agree with all of those statements. And you see a common theme, right? The key word is transform, right? We're trying to transform all of those manual processes, those services and products that you're offering your customers, taking the complexity out of those and making them more digitally focused, leading to that efficiency, leading to a better experience, both internally as well as externally. And when we talk about customers, we have 2 types of customers, right? Our customers outside of our organization, but also our customers on the inside, right? We have to ensure that our employees are empowered as well with the latest technology. So, so we've seen a lot in terms of digital transformation through different types of industries. What I would be interested in kind of hearing from the panel here is how do you see digital transformation going into the future? What do you think most organizations are going to have to be kind of focused on for the future of digital transformation? Let's go in reverse order. We'll start with Alan for that one and work our way counterclockwise this time.
Okay. Well, I think that basically organizations are going to have to look at the ways they engage customers. I don't know if you saw it, but earlier on this month, LinkedIn produced a report on the state of sales, and they looked at all the different trends which have been emerging through the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, which we hopefully will do soon. The ones that were there that were obvious were they had trend number one is that selling's become virtual, and that's obviously one that's here to stay, and that requires digital. And that sales organizations are starting to or having to trust technology because they can't navigate this change without the technology. And there was a whole list of trends that LinkedIn identified. Number 5 is the one that we're really talking about here today, which was data is a differentiator. Now that we're coming out of the old way of doing things and into this new way of doing things, where virtual is the way that we engage with our customers and our suppliers, then if you don't have the right data and if you can't share the right data, you're going to come unstuck and do less well than the next guy. And so digital transformation becomes about getting the right data, differentiating your offer and the way you deal with customers through making that data insightful, so that you really can show a difference in the way you go to market with the support of this technology.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a kind of kickoff to this stage of the discussion, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a good way to kick it off as well, right? There's no shortage of data, whether that's customer data, any analytical data that we have to make our processes more efficient. It's there. It's just how do we go about transforming that data into something actionable? So great point, Alan. Sam, let's move to you on that.
Sure. I think what's really happened is the buying process has changed, and that say 5 years back, you would do a little investigation. You might read about the product online, then you would reach out to the vendor for all the demos and stuff, and then you'd ask them for references. And today what's going on is we're doing the investigation. We're actually reading the references first because we don't want to waste our time reviewing products that don't get good references. Then we actually review the products, but online without the vendors actually knowing it. And then we actually go in for the deep dive with the vendor. So the awareness of the sale process is sort of flipped, and the future of digital transformation is making sure you can feed your customers with all the information they need to make the correct decision ahead of time. Otherwise, you're just going to be left out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Sebastian.
Yes, and another thing as well that organizations are facing, because there's a lot of things changing and accelerated during the pandemic, is the way they are embracing technology internally. So there's a lot of change management happening because we used to have the IT department controlling the rollout of technology. So in a local environment, for example, this is changing. So yes, you do have your IT department that gives the governance of how it's going to be done, but actually empower your different department who have access to the data, who knows the customer, who knows the process, who knows the best practices, they know what they want. You empower those departments to adapt to their reality. So that's also something that's very transformative in the business today. And we're seeing it. The guys who can do it faster than the other and have the ability to do this change management within their organization, they are becoming champion. So and they are leading right now. So you see it on the airline side, you see it on the banking, on the pharma, on different industries. So that's also something that's very transformative, and it's very some businesses find it challenging, others find it stimulating and fun to adopt. But definitely, it's also a transformation and challenge.
Yeah. And that's a great, you bring up a great point, Sebastian. So, we see this digital transformation as a whole, right? And how it, affects virtually every industry. But let's take that down like even a step further. So as we define what digital transformation is, and we define, what the future of that looks like, how do you think that's going to apply to specific industries? Or, do you feel that, that one definition of digital transformation is good for everybody? I'd be interested to see your take on, how it affects specific industries. And, maybe Sam, I know that, let's take for an example, you're a financial services guy. You do a lot of work in that area. How do you see that from an industry perspective?
Well, one of the things we're seeing is clients who had proprietary software for doing quoting are now opening that quoting software up to customers as a whole so that they can self-serve and get quotes without actually having involvement of the firm. Okay. Where before you'd always have to go through a broker or an agent or representative, you still have to give your information, your email address, and for two-phase authentication, your cell phone. And so you are collecting that as lead information now, but it allows them to off hours run quotes and do estimates ahead of time.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. And if you think about how manual that process might have been in the past, that takes a lot of that complexity out of it and puts it in the hand for self-service. Everybody wants that. Alan, how do you feel?
I have a logical follow-on to that. One of my clients here in the UK is an applied neuroscience business where they're dealing with the mental health of their clients, and the practitioner needs to collect a huge amount of information about the symptoms that this person has, that define the manifestation of their mental health problem. And using digital transformation, we're in the process of opening up a portal whereby the client can record their own symptoms, the severity of their symptoms, and present them digitally into the database, which has now got a set of algorithms that can look at all these symptom mixes and give the practitioner a head start on where the treatment pathway for this client should go. Whereas before, the initial consultation would have been just a fact-finding session in order to collect that information and record it in an Excel spreadsheet or some other manual method. So it's Sam's point, empowering the customer to collect the data on your behalf and speed the process up, but also engage them in the process. And my example in mental health in applied neuroscience is just another manifestation of that, but from a different industry point of view.
Absolutely. Sebastian, you have multiple experience in industries here. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I'll give an example in the manufacturing industry. So we have a customer who's implemented Creatio with them about, I would say, a year ago. So we did some digital transformation, brought some AI in, and his big dream that we could realize very rapidly in weeks, not in months. His vision was to predict when his customer will be missing stock. So we can proactively engage in a digital way with their customer, saying, hey, Mr. Customer, according to our prediction, you should be low in stock for this SKU, which we could do very rapidly, like I said, and he's super happy because the customer feedback is great. They say, thank you for letting me know. You know what? You're right. Let's order a couple pallets. So this is an example of a digital transformation. And what I like, it's very customer centric. So you're avoiding the customer to go out of stock. So that's a great example. That's that's an example of a digital transformation for manufacturing. There's in every industry there's lots of those transformation as well happening. So
absolutely, absolutely. And so these are great examples of how different industries can transform. And as you're talking to your customers, in each of these respective industries, we always know that there's going to be roadblocks on the path to digital transformation, right? There's always going to be something that people are going to have to overcome in terms of how to digitally transform their organization. So whether that's a culture of transformation, if it's lack of personnel to make that happen, we know that there's just a ton of challenges. And I'd be interested to hear, what do you think the biggest challenges are on that road to digital transformation? And Alan, maybe we can start with you in terms of what you see as the biggest challenges.
Okay, thanks, Eric. I think it's a question that we sort of addressed in one of the previous fireside chats, and I think one of the challenges is governance. You can't have everybody in your organization using low-code technology to develop new processes and going off in some kind of anarchic way, just doing what they think is right. Somewhere there has to be some governance. And going back to Sam's point from earlier, where the trend is from away from central IT out towards the user community for these developments. So it's about the balance. Where the challenge is the balance. Where is the governance on the way that low-code transformation and digital transformation is put into place? Gartner published some roadmap guidelines for CIOs earlier on this month, and they were talking in their document. They were talking about the fact that it's the CIO's responsibility to provide the infrastructure that's required within an organization, and it's probably the CIO's responsibility to handle all the procurement and the vendor management to support that infrastructure. But then the coordination of all the cross-functional initiatives that are going to go on, you're looking for change and you're looking for innovation, and you want the user communities, your different departments that are customer facing, supplier facing, HR facing. Efficiency is a goal that everyone's trying to improve. I think the challenge is that governance. Where do you put it? Who owns the responsibility for taking an innovative process from a proof of concept through to an MPV and then to a scalable enterprise-wide set of procedures? And I think that the answer to how that happens is going to vary from one industry to another, and maybe even from one company to another within a single sector. But that is, I think every organization has got to take seriously this question of governance and where it puts the power and the control, and where it puts the liberty and the flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really all about driving that strategy. Couldn't agree more, Alan. Definitely a challenge, and you're right. Not a one size fits all, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Sebastian, what are you seeing as the biggest challenges?
I concur with Alan. It's about this transformation of the IT department transforming from being the guy who's doing the change from the guy who makes sure the governance in place, but the change management related to that is big, because the good news is the customer wants it. So the customer of our customer wants it. They want to be better served. They want to be fun. So there's a pressure from the customer. There's also pressure from the internal departments. You have the sales guys say, hey, I would like to do this. The customer service guys say, hey, I would like to do this. The marketing say, hey, why, how come we cannot do this? So the departments, and also the new generation of people coming into the workplace, those guys are technology savvy. So they're not developer, they're what at Creatio is called a citizen developer, or everyone's a developer. So those folks from the new generation, they are able to configure stuff, right? So they're also pushing. They say, you know what? I've seen the video, I've done the training, I can do it. And then you have the IT department who, so ego needs to get out of the way a little, and then implementing a policy or a governance into implementing rapidly those changes. So having your typical software development lifecycle shorten into rapid iteration. So that's a challenge, because business users understand it, so they get it. They and customer also gets it. So it's just the ability for company to adopt the change, the internal change.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, that comes back in my mind to culture, right?
Absolutely.
You have to have that collaborative culture and that, bridge that gap between business and IT and ensure that the strategy is going to be solid. Sam, I'd like to hear your thoughts, and then I'll jump into a quick poll of the audience as well here. So we'd like to bring them in.
I think there's three things. Number one, I think it's resourcing and staffing. That's all changing with digital transformation. And you're right, the culture of the company, how quickly are they willing to change their staff around to fit it? But as I try to describe to people, pre-low code, this was your org chart. Project managers, developers, right? Now we got low code. It's now like this. Project managers, developers, and BAs are in the middle. And now you're having to transform all these people. And BA skills are listening, documenting, not necessarily the skills of developers. So one of the things that has to happen is you have to go through and consider, how am I going to change my staffing to fit a low-code environment? Mm-hmm. The second thing I see is these people. When you get a citizen developer, they rapidly run out and try to build out a process without thinking about, is there any negative feedback loops being caused by that process? Can the process actually solve one problem and cause other problems? And it's because no one. Again, this goes back to what you guys talked about, collaborative. You need other people to look at that and talk about that and think about that prior to just going out and implementing that. And then I think the third thing I'm running into is the management, particularly the older management, doesn't understand the tech of low code. So either they think it should take 5 minutes to build this out, or they don't fully understand the capabilities of low code. Like, you have to stay within a certain low code framework when you build stuff, because that's how you take advantage of it. Or they don't understand things like AI. Either they feel like, well, we can just turn it on when there's not enough data, or more importantly, they don't understand what AI can do for them. And so you have to explain it over and over, like, no, you want to really scale, you can do certain things with your AI that you're now doing manually. So it's sort of getting them to take a leap of faith around the technology itself, but also educating your management on what is the potential of this technology.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All great points, guys. And I think that, throughout our 10 days of the marathon, hopefully the audience is, starting to see that this is the way we have to, take a look at digital transformation and the planning that needs to go into that. It can't just be a siloed strategy. It really needs to be brought together across an entire organization. Let's take a quick poll of the audience as well, so we can bring them in and understand where they are from a digital transformation perspective. So, audience, let's launch this poll here. So, the poll question is: how far are you in your digital transformation journey, and when did you start your digital transformation journey? So we have a series of answers here, guys. I'll just let you know we've already started. We started in 2020, 2021. We're going to start in the next 12 months, or we've paused all initiatives. So as we wait for those results to come in, it'll be interesting to see where everybody is. And, anybody that's looking to start, we have 3 gentlemen that would probably love to talk to you at some point. Excellent. All right. So let's let's kind of move into the kind of the last phase of our discussion here, guys. So we understand the future, where we see digital transformation is going. We understand that there's challenges, and we've already talked a little bit about how low code can help overcome those challenges or actually accelerate that strategy that you're putting together. So when we look at low code, I think that it helps in many different areas. One, it's going to help to take that strain off of IT departments, right? Those project backlogs, demand from businesses here, and the project backlogs in IT is very very robust. It's growing, and they're having trouble keeping up with it, and that could be lack of resources, lack of funding. It could be all kinds of different factors that come into that. So I'd be interested to see again how you view low code addressing those challenges, right? So addressing those developer shortages, addressing lack of funding. How can we leverage low code to accelerate our digital transformation efforts? And I'll throw that one out there as a jump ball, guys. So whoever wants to grab that one first, I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, so I can start. So low code start. So there's a couple of components of low code. So there's definitely the technology component, which to me is, I don't want to see it's the easy part, but that's not necessarily the most challenging part. Is the other component of adopting a low code strategy is related to the change of mind. Like you said culture. It's the way you normally execute the vision. So the vision of the organization, the mission and the vision, the way you operate to achieve that vision transform. So normally, we all read the big, nice books, business books, Good to Great, and Selling, and all those books. And they're all great in concept. But this is accelerating. So it's not, I have my yearly goals, and then this is different. Yes, you need to have goals. You need to have a vision. But the way you actually implement the vision, change on the technology side, when it's process related or customer centric related, the low code initiatives goes into an execution of the vision. So that's the mindset. So you're no more a coder or developer or a BA. You're a person that execute on the vision to better serve your customer. So that's the transformation that you need to go through. That's how I individualize it. Let's say.
Yeah.
I don't want to say said it yet.
Sam, Alan, what are your thoughts?
Well, I have a client here in the UK. They're a law firm, and they were trying to improve client retention. If you're an ordinary citizen, maybe like us guys, you go to a law firm for a one-off transaction. You've had a road traffic collision and you want some legal support. You think you were unfairly dismissed from your job and you want some legal support. You're buying and selling property, you want some legal support. And there's no kind of continuity as to when those things happen in your life. And therefore your choice of lawyer might be, different every time. And this law firm was trying to improve the loyalty, make the law firm stickier with the clients. So they got all these repeat activities coming back to the same law firm. And the IT department was busy in a transformation of their old back office system, time recording, billing, recording different case data, all the things that a back office system does for a law firm. The IT guys were completely tied up with that whole exercise. So the front end people who are trying to improve the way that they can increase client engagement and client loyalty were left without the ability to apply any technology to this. And Creatio Low Code saved them in that respect, in that now the marketing manager could go through a fairly small amount of education, use the academy for knowledge and self-service learning, and use Collier Pickard for advice and guidance and mentoring. But basically build out this client review process so that they could expose the client's awareness of all the legal services they might have in the future. You know, writing wills, doing family trusts, looking after property, looking after your employment rights and your health rights and so on. So low code has enabled that law firm to create a client engagement machine, a technology-based machine that they couldn't have done without low code, because there were no IT resources available for them to use for at least 12 months whilst this back office upgrade was in play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and for me, I think that's a really strong case for looking at low code with a new hat. You know, it's the point that Sebastian made. If you make it customer facing, think about how you can improve things for the customer, then you're going to start an innovation process that's driven by the very people who have the problem to deal with, of making it easier for customers to do business with you.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful example. And Sam, I know that you and I have had a few engagements together, and have heard similar stories of how low code can kind of augment staffing resources, different aspects like that. What are your thoughts here?
We have a joint bank that we work with, and they've hired 2 business analysts, and they're doing, majority of the moving forward development. And, we get involved only for heavy lifting, and, and that's certainly very cost effective and very efficient for them. And the funny part is that they're moving faster. Their 2 business analysts are moving faster than their own IT department. So they have to continually stop what they're doing and wait for IT to catch up. And that's really the beauty of low code.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, all great examples of, regardless of industry, low code does give the power to accelerate those processes by, putting the technology in the hands of business users, and in collaboration with IT. So bringing business users into that process and helping to accelerate that transformational cycle is tremendous amongst any industry. So great point, guys. And I just wanted to, before we jump into a couple of questions from the audience, I just wanted to give you the poll results. So how far are you in your digital transformation journey? Over 46% said that they've already started. That was also tied for, we started in 2020, 2021, followed by, we'll start in the next 12 months. Interesting thing, we paused all initiatives, came in at 0%. So that's good to hear that everybody is kind of thinking of that. So perfect. Why don't you guys up for a couple of questions within our last few minutes here, guys? All right. So the first question coming in indicates, has any of your customers encountered pushback from employees? So as digital transformation initiatives are rolling out, have any of your customers encountered pushback from employees? Sebastian, or do you want to start, Sam? I'm sorry, either or.
I've got one, but Sebastian's got one. He can go first.
Oh, okay, perfect. So so there's and the business people normally, from my experience, don't push back that much, but they understand the accountability of doing the digital transformation, and especially in a local environment. So the accountability to be accountable to support the department. But we get some pushback sometime on it's more on the governance side of the confidentiality, privacy. So when you start being in local environments and people start asking, what about the privacy of the information? What about the confidentiality of the information of some, in some industry where it's more regulated. There's some pushback in there. Say, the legal will raise the flag and throw something and say, oh no, we cannot. So you need to, work with them. But I don't get that much push on my side from the business, so they like it normally. On the business side.
Yeah.
We have a startup healthcare company that's actually using diet to treat type 2 diabetics, and marvelous success. And within the year, we built out a custom using low-code tools, a custom customer-facing tool where they can put in diet information. And we're getting actually pushback from their IT department because we're using Creatio and Creatio Studio to build everything at an incredibly rapid pace for the back office management. And then we are getting some pushback from some of the people, the doctors, because they're used to a dietitian managing 20 to 30 patients at one time, and we're showing them that we're using learning machines to do responses and identifying only critical situations. They can manage 200-300 patients at a time, and they can't make that visual jump. So our pushback is coming in for people who can't, again, understand the tech, or the IT department who just can't believe you can do stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize, Alan, but I've got red lights flashing at me that we're at time here. So, but guys, I really appreciate all of the feedback. I think, you're absolutely right. That last question was actually, very insightful from the audience. And again, I go back to culture, right? And how you develop that strategy and bringing in all, it's not just a top-down approach, but it's a bottom-up approach as well. And when you bring everybody into a collaborative cycle, good things happen. And I think that's, what we see when we're talking to any type of organization in any industry. If they have that mapped out well, digital transformation goes well. So again, wonderful discussion, guys. We never have enough time for these things. So I would like to thank each of you again for taking part in today's session, as well as your other sessions. Been truly an amazing journey here, folks. So thank you very much, gentlemen, and we'll see you on our future events.